Welcome to Connecting the Dots, a non-traditional legal program with your host and trusted advisor, Liz Myska, your guide through the web of life's dilemmas.
Welcome to another edition of Connecting the Dots. I'm your host, Liz Myska. And today I have the privilege of welcoming someone that I've known kind of tangentially for as long as I was involved with the YWCA of Central Massachusetts. Robyn Kennedy, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's such a privilege and honor to be here with you today, Liz.
And now I'm casting my memory back. And again, I do want to talk about you and your role at the YW, but you've also been involved as a cited guide for my shenanigans, let's call it, my blindfold expeditions in the city of Worcester. And for some reason, it just popped into my head that the time that you came, you were expecting to guide, and then you ended up being blindfolded yourself.
Yes. Always do what Liz says.
Do you have nightmares about that, Robyn?
No, not at all. I was a little hesitant at first, but it's interesting. I tell people all the time now, I've lived in Worcester my whole life, grew up here. I don't think I learned more about the city than I have in the days that I'm doing the White Cane, just to be able to understand and really see the city from a very different perspective. And it's so important that you do that you get folks in the community, folks in leadership positions to do the White Cane Day, because it really does help us understand where we need to do better to make sure that our city is really accessible for everybody. So it was a little nerve-wracking the first time I put that blindfold on. I think we were in City Hall, in fact, the first time. So a lot of marble stairwells and floors in that building. But fortunately, I had a great sighted guide that day and learned the tricks to become a sighted guide myself. So I definitely appreciated the opportunity to participate in that day, and then in several days, I think, since then.
Yes,
so.
Absolutely. Yes.
Mostly as a guide now. So.
Yes, I know. Really, yeah. You paid your dues. So, again, I think we met at the YW, but correct me if I'm wrong, because you are relatively new because you had a different career.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
So let's play the rewind game.
And I think it was actually maybe the first time we met was when you were coming to the YW pool to go swimming with Peg, and I think maybe Patty, our former director of wellness and health equity, had introduced us and got connected, because I know she had done the White Cane Day with you many times before that. So I think she was the one that said, "Okay, Liz, I have somebody else that you could
fresh meat,
fresh meat that you can bring on some of these days with you." So I think that's probably where it started, about 4 years ago now, when I first went to go work at the YW.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us what you did before and how it informed your, who you are and where you're going. And
Absolutely. Well, I can start with who I am. Where I'm going yet, that's still to be
seen. Okay, all right,
but,
I know. Well.
But I actually spent the majority of my career working in government. Actually rewinding way back, right when I got out of college many years ago, I actually first started working at the YWCA Daybreak Shelter for Battered Women, is what it was called at the time, but now it's our Domestic Violence Services Shelter for anyone fleeing domestic violence. And I started as the children's advocate, so I would work when the families would come in. I'd work directly with the children to understand kind of what their experience was, whether it was directly experiencing the violence or what they had observed, and helping them get connected with resources in the community, including schools and other kinds of mental health counseling, et cetera. So I spent about a year and a half in that position, which was really a phenomenal opportunity to understand the work and understand the field, and kind of, again, what's working, what's not working, how we're, serving survivors, how we, unfortunately, aren't always serving survivors the best we can. So I left that position after about a year and a half and went to work on the re-election campaign of Congressman Jim McGovern and the election campaign of Ed Augustus, who, of course, was then running for state senate. So that was a really phenomenal opportunity as well, to really understand the campaign at the ground level and understand kind of connecting with different communities and really hearing and understanding what people are looking for in their elected officials. From there, I went to work with Ed. Fortunately, he was successful and became the state senator for half of Worcester, 2nd Worcester District. I went to go work for him for a couple of years, and then when Governor Deval Patrick and Lieutenant Governor Tim Murray got elected, I was fortunate enough to get asked to go into the administration.
Wow.
I worked for a year for Deval Patrick in the appointments office. So it's one of the, I think, the most unknown departments within the administration. So the governor appoints about 2,000 positions, and who knows, it probably has grown by now to different boards and commissions, from everything from the Board of Education to different licensure type boards like cosmetology, et cetera. So I work to help assess candidates and make recommendations on where folks should get appointed.
Wow, did you have to research
Yeah.
How did people bubble up to the surface, or were people promoting themselves to be
Yes.
okay, all right, okay.
Certainly a lot of that.
Human behavior, all right.
But certainly the boards themselves helped identify candidates who, certainly many of the boards had very particular criteria for each of the seats. So some of it was predetermined, and we just had to identify candidates that really met the criteria or the expertise that the board required. But then there was some really interesting opportunities, like, for example, the Board of Education, where the governor kind of has some leeway to make determinations. And of course, it was an opportunity to, again, find somebody certainly who's qualified. Right. But that's where there was a little bit more high-profile positions, and certainly the governor and his team, weighed in. His Secretary of Education would weigh in. So we would do more of the background vetting process. So it was a really fascinating office to work in. And then I went and spent 6 years working directly for Lieutenant Governor Murray, first as his Director of Policy, and then as his Deputy Chief of Staff. And
well, that must have been like a whirlwind too.
It was, again, I'm so blessed. I keep saying great opportunity. I've been blessed with many phenomenal opportunities in my career, but I was able to see, I think, pretty close to all 351 cities and towns in the Commonwealth. I got all over the place, and working on policy at the statewide level for the Lieutenant Governor. The governor appointed him as chair to multiple commissions and councils, including the Interagency Council on Housing and Homelessness, the Governor's Advisory Council on Domestic and Sexual Violence, the Seaport Advisory Council, and then Veterans Affairs and a few others. And so I really managed the policy work of those councils. So it was really great to be able to bring my firsthand experience as well as relationships in the community to really bring it to the table and to help with the understanding. It was also a really great opportunity to understand from a statewide perspective how policy at the state level really has an impact on the day-to-day, and really get to work with community advocates, community providers, businesses, government officials to really understand, how do we make real change, and how do we really serve folks that don't always get the best service, particularly from government.
And I would imagine it was very Boston-centric, except because Tim is from the Worcester. So that,
and that's the one takeaway. I wish folks across the state really appreciated more of the value of having somebody from outside of Boston, because it is, I used to say Boston, and I think folks out here really understand and appreciate, unlike, Boston certainly doesn't, have so much resource goes into Boston before, the rest of the state shares what's left. And Tim was such a strong advocate to make sure that the rest of the state really got the fair share of resources, got fair share of perspective. I mean, you couldn't, looking at Peru, Massachusetts, or Florida, Massachusetts, couldn't be any more different than Boston, Massachusetts. I think if we tried, exactly. So to be able to bring those voices who are just as valuable, who are just as much a part of this Commonwealth, and need access to the same support, same resources. So it was really great to be able to think about and to be able to look at it from that perspective, which really, truly helped in framing kind of my thinking in really what I carry with me today is always just being mindful of, who's marginalized from accessing a resource, whose voices aren't at the table, whose voices aren't part of the conversation, and really kind of thinking there, of course, it was more geographically, geographic consideration, but really using that to kind of frame my thinking, and something that I bring with me even today to really be mindful of, if we're putting out a policy, who's going to be most impacted by this? And are those folks at the table? Are those folks driving the decision? Are they having a fair share and access to resources and support? So it was a wonderful opportunity, and certainly really shaped who I am and where I am today. And
wow. So I'm getting, you must have been interested in government. What did you major in college? Was it political science or history?
So
are you going to say no, biology?
Yeah, I was actually a history major, but
Okay.
I did. I went and poli-sci minor, but I did. I actually went to school to be a teacher. So I had in my head
okay.
growing up, I was going to go teach elementary school, and that was the path I was on. But my senior year in college, my second semester, and I went to Assumption, so the program there worked that your second semester, you were in the classroom full time.
Okay.
So, however, that second semester senior year, I got offered an internship in Congressman McGovern's office. So I had to weigh,
Yeah.
do I want to do the internship and take that opportunity or finish my credentials in education? And so I decided to go with the internship. And then I minored in education and minored and was able to pick up a second minor in political science by having the ability to take classes while doing my internship. So I did take the test, was certified to teach, but ultimately decided my path never went back there. But who knows?
Wow.
Maybe, like you said, who knows where we're all
who
going,
knows?
right?
Oh, wow.
Exactly.
Wow.
I still
Wow.
value that. Yeah, absolutely.
And I know that you, at least a couple years ago, you work on campaigns. Are you now working on campaigns as
Yes.
well? Okay, all right.
I feel like it's an annual thing.
You have so much wealth of knowledge.
Yes.
I mean, you were like a storehouse. You know?
That is true. I did. Yes, it has been many a campaign in the past 25 years that I've been working on campaigns. But I am. We have municipal elections coming up this fall, and in fact, Tuesday, September 14th, we have the preliminary, and unfortunately, only 2 districts out of all 5 have preliminary. So, unfortunately, we'll probably see very, very low turnout. But hopefully, folks get out because there cannot be a more important election, I honestly believe, than municipal elections. These are the folks that fix your pothole or don't fix the pothole in front of your house, or put in a street light in front of your house, or are determining what's happening with your kid's school, or fix your sidewalks, or so voting for president's important, absolutely, but your local district councilor is also very important. So,
and that's District 1 and District 5, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All
And
right.
so I am helping Atel Hajii, who's a good friend of mine, helping her in District 5. And helping and supporting a few other candidates, certainly Sean Rose up in District 1, and other certainly several candidates at the at-large city council, but that isn't going to be until November, so they don't have a preliminary at-large.
Okay.
So it's I feel like it's a cyclical thing. We're always working on campaigns. As soon as this wraps up, we'll be planning for the state races coming this next November. So,
wow. So when you were talking about your, being like chief of staff for the lieutenant governor, all I could think of was your phone must have been constantly. You never must have had any downtime, ever.
It was a 24/7 position for sure. There was always something going on, and certainly I worked. Had the fortune to work in the administration during some really tumultuous and really historic times. I was there during the Boston Marathon bombing.
Oh, wow.
So really to be there in the administration in the days following, being in the State House and really witnessing government coming together to really solve problems, putting aside different agendas, different perspectives, and just coming to the table, bringing everyone's individual expertise to just solve and to address that. It was just something that was amazing, and to be able to witness that firsthand. And it was actually, I was his deputy chief of staff, was actually his acting chief of staff. Our chief of staff at the time had gone on maternity leave and was in MGH having her babies during the Boston Marathon. And so, to be, I stepped up as the acting chief of staff at that time. So it was definitely a crazy time. Then, I remember the tornado that cut through Springfield in Western Mass.
Yeah.
Again, going out there, being on the ground, really seeing and talking to folks as this, their businesses, their homes,
everything
and
devastated.
really talking to folks and understanding what they need and being able to connect to those resources. It just, that's what government should be, is getting things to folks, getting resources to folks when they need it most. So,
well, so now you just have, you're just sitting back and, you just.
I don't think my phone has stopped ringing ever since. So Verizon must be their favorite customer. But
So now you are at the YW, and what is your official posting.
So it's a mouthful. My official title is the Associate Executive Director for Mission, Program, and Community Impact. Essentially,
Wow.
what that means
That's
is
awful.
I oversee all of our program areas.
Okay.
And we have, the YWCA is a multi-service organization, so we have quite a lot going on in that small little building of ours over on Salem Square. But I oversee and make sure that the trains keep running on time and that we're doing what we need to do.
And that, again, you must be chief cook and bottle washer, because you have to make sure, again, that the lights are on, but also that that people are coming in, not just, and I know that the YW just had a renovation, and then of course we had COVID and the departure of the long-term executive director. So things have not been boring.
It's been a very quiet year. I don't know.
So pick some of those. I mean,
Absolutely,
to talk about.
Sure. Well, and I have to start by saying that the YWCA is just so blessed. We have such a phenomenal team of leaders and just amazing people who, through it all, kept showing up. The YWCA, as you mentioned, December 2019 or January 2020, we officially broke ground, and then 2 months later, COVID hit us, and now we're managing with a fully a renovation that touched every single corner of the building, and a fully occupied renovation at that. So we had always planned to be in the building during the renovation while just kind of moving some spaces as needed, which I can't say enough about architects. They're brilliant to be able to help us come up with plans. Of we had a childcare classroom in the boardroom at one point, in one of our fitness studios. We just kind of made everything work. And then, of course, COVID came into all of our lives, and we had to really kind of adjust quickly. And, again, folks kept showing up to do the work. I can't say enough, and there's not enough words to ever be thankful enough or show gratitude to our employees who, day in, day out, our childcare team, we never closed. We did transition last summer, back when the governor asked childcare providers to open up as emergency care. We did transition as an emergency care provider, and we're providing childcare to doctors and nurses and grocery store employees, other employees in the community that had to show up to work, first responders, police officers, etc. So we served as an emergency childcare provider for a couple months, and then when the governor reopened kind of the childcare, we pivoted back and reopened back up for our families, and went back to our traditional childcare program. And really, our domestic violence services, they quickly pivoted and started doing their advocacy calls through telehealth, through new technology. And I think we all learned a lot this year about what technology has to offer. Our housing, we have residents right now due to the renovation. We have up to 47 residents in our building, but we had about 25 that were with us during the renovation. And so we were able to partner with Becker to use some of their dorms. Fortunately, that part of the renovation was during the summer, so we used some of Becker's dorms. So our staff was making sure that the women that live with us had everything that they needed, that they had
Close by, too.
that they had their PPE, that they if they were dealing with loss of employment, that we were supporting them and working with them to get supports that they need. So really, I don't think there is we were fortunate. We didn't have to lay anybody off. All of our staff, some people's jobs kind of changed, when we closed the fitness center and we closed the pool for safety. Some of the staff there kind of pivoted into other positions to kind of, again, redeploy where we really had additional or increased needs due to COVID. But everyone, we were able to keep everyone on board and keep everybody working, which was really great. And then, we, in a year, so our renovation project, which from top to bottom and bottom to top was run by and completed by women. We had an all-women project management team and an all-female-led construction team, which I think is Consigli's first, I think I can say that, their first all-female superintendent and deputy superintendent on the project. And then the architecture firm was a female firm, a female-owned firm, and we had 2 women on that project. So it was really, our mission's eliminating racism, empowering women, and to us it matters to walk the walk. We're also super proud to say we're the first organization, first entity in the city to have a community benefits agreement. So again, really walking the walk and doing what we set out to do, which is to set benchmarks to make sure that we had a certain percentage of women on the project, that we had a certain percentage of people of color, of local residents, and apprentices working on the project with us. So I'm pleased to say we surpassed all of our goals, which just goes to show, sometimes you need the first to prove it, and we did. That when you put in the effort and you are determined and you are deliberate in your work, that you can accomplish those goals. So it was really exciting, and maybe I can, because it was women run, we finished on time. We actually,
that there are certain essentials
we
that have to be
done. Exactly,
Yeah,
we would get things done, but we finished the project within a year. So it was really exciting. We had a slight delay, a couple weeks delay during the start of COVID, but they were able to kind of juggle some things around, some components of the project. So overall, we were completed within a year. So. And now we're open for business. The YWCA is back open. We're still following our strict COVID protocols. We some things we never lifted, even when the CDC said that it's a little bit safer. But we've always required folks in our building to be wearing masks when moving about our building or in most spaces. And we're still doing the testing and making testing available. And but we've got everything. Every component is now back and operating, which is great to see.
And I think you were a vaccine center. Weren't you part of the mobile vaccine?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So again, it was
absolutely.
It's not only the utilization of the building, but utilization of the people and their skills. And one of the things that you said about the first responders, the doctors, the nurses, the police officers, having that emergency shelter for children. Had some of those individuals, those parents, ever been in the YW, and were they like, "Whoa"?
Yeah, some certainly, yeah.
Because I think, and I'm speaking personally and I won't say the only reason, but I guess I could legitimately say the only reason that I became aware of the YW is when I started losing my sight, and my chiropractor said, "You." So this is 2008. I had hurt my back. He said, you need to swim in a pool. And this was September, and I thought, well, I'm not going to be swimming in any outdoor pools. And where's there a pool?
Sure.
And where's there a pool that's accessible to me in terms of distance, how I can get to it, because I ceased driving. So, and I told this story last week when I was in the YW and you were giving a tour to others who are interested in the YW's mission. I called and talked to Patty Flanagan, whom you referenced before, the former director of wellness, health and wellness. And on the phone, she gave me the spiel. We have this, we have that. And I said, no, you don't understand. I have to come.
Yeah.
I have to touch. I have to walk.
Sure.
I have to make sure that I can do this. I'm not simply going to join something because somebody recommends it. I need to actually, explore the space. And Patty later quipped that was the longest orientation she had ever given, because it wasn't just, what does the YW have to offer? It was, what do the bathrooms look like? How do I get to the bathroom? Is there an elevator? What happens if I'm stuck up on the second floor in the fitness room and the fire alarm goes off? I mean, all of those things were important to me, to know that they would be addressed, and if people didn't know, that they would work with me to address those things. So that's a lot of what I'm hearing you say, that during your lifetime, you didn't know what you didn't know, and then you were exposed to things, and then you had that part of your repertoire now.
Absolutely.
But you also partnered with people. In other words, you didn't do it all.
Yeah.
And again, that's what community building is.
Absolutely. And I think that's really what leadership is it's okay to say, there's some things, there's blind spots that I have. There's things that I can't see that,
Right.
and it is it's important to be able to reach out. And I think, even back when we were doing the renovation, I know you met with, and you and I met with one of our project consultants to say, okay, where can we do it? Where can we be better to make sure that the building is fully accessible? And we still have work to do. Certainly, it's always will always be in the
ongoing.
motion of
Right.
trying to do better and be more and more accessible. But things like having the talking elevator, things, little features that again, when you're not thinking of these things,
Right.
that you need to be deliberate about. And so, absolutely, and that's that is our mission in action is. It's eliminating racism, empowering women, promoting peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all. And that last piece, which we don't say quite as often as the first piece,
Right.
but is really our constant reminder to make sure that everything we're doing, not only for folks that are differently abled, but that are, have experienced other oppressions or other marginalizations, that we're constantly looking at ourselves, looking at our services, and really looking to see how we can do better. And it all begins by bringing those folks and bringing them to the table, and then sometimes ourselves taking a step back from the table to say, tell us how we should be doing this better. So absolutely, it's certainly, we are certainly a work in progress, but a work that's constantly driving to meet that goal. So
Well, Robyn, I mean, this has just been a delight to hear in your own words.
Absolutely. I can't believe we're already out of time already.
Yes, we are already out of time.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you for gracing us with your presence today. Thank you for,
Absolutely.
again, always being eager to pitch in and help, and and again, being ever expanding the circle. So
Absolutely. And I encourage everyone who's watching, participate in upcoming White Cane Day, because it's definitely an invaluable experience to be able to understand and to be able to know Worcester from a different way to look at Worcester in a different way. So
Thank you.
I certainly encourage it.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And join me for another edition of Connecting the Dots.
Please note that the information provided in this show is not a substitute for consulting with an experienced local attorney and receiving counsel based on the facts and circumstances of a particular transaction. To contact Lizbeth, email her at lisbeth@elizabethlmyska.com or call her office at 508-753-7681. We're online at connectingthedots.lawyer. Executive producers, Liz Myska and Jack Peacock. Producers, John Medberry and Bill Hamilton. A production of Elizabeth L. Myska, JD, LLM, in association with Compliments.